Mr. Freeze was the first villain revealed for Gotham Knights. Even though, due to leaks, we've known about the Court of Owls longer, Mr. Freeze was that first villain who showed up in that reveal trailer, and he was the first one in that first Batgirl gameplay demo that she was going up against. And today I wanted to break down how this iteration of Mr. Freeze is different than some of the other more traditional takes on the character in the comics, animation, films, and video games, and what we can expect from him going into this game. So for anyone who doesn't know this character very well, here's a brief history about his origin story, which was developed and reworked and really made to be more interesting, as this wasn't necessarily a deeply compelling Batman villain until they gave him a really sympathetic backstory, which is that his wife is terminally ill, and so he cryogenically freezes her to try and develop a cure for her illness. And of course, the greedy businessman Ferris Boyle that Mr. Freeze works for does not like this idea, doesn't like him using the company resources to fund a personal project, and ultimately causes an accident which causes Mr. Freeze to need to be in sub-zero temperatures all the time, hence the need for his suit, and he uses his cryogenic freeze gun as a weapon against his enemies. And the first thing I think going into Gotham Knights is that, like most modern interpretations of Batman, they are keeping that backstory for Mr. Freeze. There are some characters that I think are a little bit easier to change or sculpt to the needs of the story. Yesterday I talked about Penguin and said that very thing. Penguin is a great character who can be adjusted and reworked based upon the story that he's being used in. Mr. Freeze kind of has a very set expectation from fans, and I think if you retool it too much, people are going to get disappointed, and he's going to be a completely different character. It's sort of like Dr. Octavius. He has to have some level of tragedy in his backstory and some level of sympathy. Otherwise, a lot of the nuance and intrigue of his character is just gone. Overall, this version of the character sounds to be pretty similar to his comic book counterpart and that traditional character that we know and love. A lot of what was said in the IGN article when they were covering Gotham Knights for the character of Mr. Freeze was more that this is Warner Brothers Games Montreal trying to add their flavor to the well-established and known character rather than trying to reinvent him. And they actually say that this is something that they try to do for a lot of the characters in the game. And I think a great example of this was actually with Clayface. When we see Clayface, he's a pretty traditional version of Clayface. He has a little bit of a different nuance or flavor to him that we don't normally see per se, and I think that that shows Warner Brothers Games Montreal's personality, but he is still very much what we would expect from that character, and I think Mr. Freeze is absolutely no different. Mr. Freeze has his freeze ray, he has his suit, he has the traditional look. I think that the one thing that we can really see is evolving in this character is he is moving into really high technology. He is building robots, he is building big machines, he is trying to flash freeze the city, and so he isn't really doing street-level crimes at this point. I think it's fair to say that this version of the character has evolved completely into supervillainy. He seems really ruthless and really willing to take whatever matters into his hands that he needs to meet his means. He doesn't seem worried at all about killing the Knights. He doesn't seem to have a lot of sympathy for others. It will be interesting to see Nora's state in this game, and if he's still trying to save her. Or maybe she's dead as well. Gotham Knights so far has a reputation for killing off well-established characters such as Batman and Jim Gordon. Maybe Nora has passed away, and that has caused Mr. Freeze to just go on a complete killing spree. Or maybe it's a little bit deeper than that. Maybe Nora is being sold on the black market or something. I don't know. Maybe she is being held captive by some supervillain. Who knows what Mr. Freeze's motives are in this game? But again, what we're seeing is a very ruthless version of this character, and one who clearly has a lot of tools at his disposal and a lot of technology at his disposal. One thing that the Gotham Knights team was very proud of was they actually looked at a lot of medical equipment and real technology and just themed it after Mr. Freeze, so a lot of what he is using could theoretically exist in the real world, even if some of the science behind it is a little bit science fiction-y. And another thing that I found interesting from a more narrative perspective is it does sound like he plays a bit of a role in the main story, but his side quest, it was again confirmed here, Mr. Freeze's villain arc is optional. and it sounds like this is the case for many villains in this game. So in other words, a lot of these characters will show up in the main story, but then once they sort of break out of that main plot and main campaign, you can either choose to finish going through their story and have a boss fight with them, or you can choose to just let them go. And I think that that shows a lot of great potential for Gotham Knights, that it kind of allows you to pick and choose the activities and villains that you want to go up against, but it really provides you that choice, and it lets you do things in the order that you want to. I also really enjoyed learning about the Regulators, which is the gang that works with Mr. Freeze, not for Mr. Freeze. That's an interesting distinction, similarly to how the Freaks, the other gang, work with Harley Quinn, not for her. I think that's a really cool way to talk about how these villains get henchmen in these games in this universe. A lot of times it seems really strange that Joker just has so many people at his disposal willing to dress up like clowns. So to have a gang already kind of have that mentality and that aesthetic to them and have their goals sort of align with supervillains, I think makes a lot of sense. And I think that that's an interesting way to explore the power dynamics and gang dynamics of Gotham. And again, I'm really intrigued by all of this. Let me know in the comments below what you think. What villain are you most excited for? We have one more to talk about tomorrow, and that is the famous Court of Owls. But again, let me know in the comments below who you are most excited to go up against. And make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and we will see you guys in the next one.